Your next stop is on Passive.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Good morning, good afternoon to all my queens and kings around the globe. I want to take this special moment to welcome each and everyone. And I want to thank God for bringing each and everyone today, this evening. There is no one like our Heavenly Father. But at this present moment, I just want to say thank you all for coming and welcoming you all in this our Julie Humanity Empowerment. Thank you all. At this moment, I'm going to hand it over to Queen Debbie for you to proceed, please.
Thank you, Queen Sister Benny, for this sweet welcome to everyone who is here tonight. We appreciate you, all those lovely comments that you made about sugar or honey. That was just awesome. It's just something like the icebreaker, if we may call it so. We appreciate all our brothers and sisters who are here. I don't know where all the men are tonight. I'm only seeing about 5 from all of us. And I want to appreciate Brother David Switzer. I don't know which part, which state are you in, Brother David?
Come back on that.
Which state are you in?
Check that I'm in.
On the map?
I'm in Kansas.
Oh, you're in Kansas. Okay.
Kansas, yeah.
You're having rain there. I am in Chicago and we'll be having rain all weekend.
Oh, really?
From Saturday through Monday, it's going to rain in Chicago nonstop, 99%. So the reason I'm asking is because we are so blessed to be here. Rain is another gift that comes from our Creator, and we do not know what causes it. We just accept it because in other parts of the world, they do not have rain at all. Because I travel a lot, I have people telling me their crops have died because they lack rain. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I'm just sharing that we should feel honored. But most importantly, as we're starting this webinar, this is Julie Pierre, Empowering Humanity, and she had a special theme that she wanted to have on this webinar. And we are here to help her achieve that goal. Who is Julie Pierre, as we all see her here and other forums that she dedicates time to spend with us? Our sister, Queen Julie Pierre, is a beautiful human. And not only is she beautiful, but she's beautiful inside and out. We only see the outside, but we do not see the inside. So before I continue introducing her, I want to acknowledge everyone who is here, who has a sick one, or who is sick, that we are with you. We're praying for you, and we're praying with you for a speedy recovery. So we appreciate anyone who is sick or recovering, and we also appreciate anyone who has to celebrate anything during this month, be it an anniversary or Diwali for our Indian families or Halloween for those who celebrate. We appreciate all of that. And the unmentioned, because there's so many celebrations during the month of October, and we're coming to the end of it. And one of the celebrations that we had in this forum was to celebrate the first anniversary of Julie Pierre Empowering Humanity. And that was an outstanding, awesome celebration. If you missed it, please, I urge you to go back into the YouTube channels and watch it, because there were so many testimonies about what had transpired during the year that this was evolving onto the celebration this October. That's why I mentioned earlier that there's so many things to celebrate during the month of October. Some are mentionable and some are not. But at this point, I want to thank our sister for giving us this platform. She is Queen Sister Julie Pierre from the beautiful Paradise Island that we all called We all call it what? We call it St. Lucia. It is not easy to get there. And if you are a mom, you know what she's going through right now. But she is not just a mom for anything. She's a mom of 3 kids. You cannot have 1, 2, 3, and you leave one. All of them, they flock together, right? You gather them and you move along with them. And she is that one person who is so fearless, and she loves all the challenges that we give her. And sometimes nature challenges us, like with the rain for about a week nonstop, and people die from it, the monsoons and all of that. She is ready for every of those aspects. But when she joined on passive, it was like a fearless thing. And on passive is one of those things that will always keep her going, regardless of any obstacle that she faces in life. On passive gives her the strength, the energy, and the audacity of hope to continue to hope for the best, not just for Unpassive, not just for herself, but for all Unpassivians. And that's why we're here. So without further ado, please let us welcome our wonderful host and sister, Queen Julie Pierre. Over to you, sis.
Thank you, Sister Debbie. Wow, wow. I was wondering who you were talking about. Anyway, thank you very much. Let me say welcome to everyone who's here this evening, once again with us on this amazing platform where we come to learn, we come to educate one another and to empower each other. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, our admin team, who is here once again this evening. Tonight, I want to talk about planning for our long-term care. This is a topic that, some of us may want to shy away from, but it is very, very important considering what's coming our way. When planning for the future, many of us tend to focus on immediate needs and overlook the importance of financial planning for our long-term care. However, if we do not secure a plan for our potential need for long-term care, it can have a significant benefits for both ourselves and our loved ones. Long-term care includes services and support that it will help us maintain our quality of life, especially as we age. But please note, it's never too early to plan for it, as none of us know what the future holds in terms of our health and well-being. Only God knows, and so we need to plan for it. It can include medical and non-medical care. You need to develop a plan tailored to your needs and goals. Let us look at what to consider when planning for long-term care. There are several advantages in making provisions for your long-term care before you are in a position to need it. Long-term care planning allows you to make informed decisions about your future. By considering your potential care needs now, you can define the type of care you wish to receive and make necessary preparations. This proactive approach ensures that your preferences are respected and you maintain control over your care arrangements. Financial planning for long-term care is crucial for safeguarding your assets. Without a plan, the cost of long-term care can quickly deplete your savings. By integrating long-term care costs into your financial plan, you can protect your assets and ensure that your resources are used effectively to cover necessary expenses. Too often have we seen persons who do not plan for their long-term care. Their resources are being distributed to family members in the hope of receiving care, and they are left to be cared by sometimes only one person, and puts a financial and emotional strain on that one individual, while all the other beneficiaries go their merry way. Financial planning for long-term care is crucial for safeguarding your assets. Without a plan, the cost of long-term care can also quickly deplete your savings. By integrating long-term care costs into your financial plan, you can protect your assets and ensure that your resources are used effectively to cover necessary expenses. Planning allows you to choose the care that aligns with your values and lifestyle. Whether you prefer to receive care at home, in an assisted living facility, or in a nursing home, or even by a particular loved one. Having a plan in place allows you to explore your options and make a decision that best fits your needs. Insurance for long-term care is one strategy that many people use to ensure their costs are covered. Deciding when to buy long-term care insurance is a critical aspect of the plan. Typically, the best time to purchase this insurance is in your mid-50s and 60s, as premiums are generally lower and you might be more likely to qualify for coverage. However, it's essential to assess your specific situation and needs, and consulting with a financial advisor and insurance specialist like our very own DrJohn can help determine the right timing for you. Long-term care insurance is not for everyone, but it's worth considering if you have and will have substantial assets you want to protect, if your family has a history of health issues that may require long-term care, or if you would like the peace of mind that comes with knowing your care options are covered. Creating a detailed plan can help you feel more prepared and ensure that all aspects of long-term care are addressed. Familiarize yourself with the statistics and reflect on your health and family history to understand the potential need for long-term care. Look into, for example, what illnesses are prevalent in your family, bloodline. How long do the ones before you live for, etc. Research care costs in your area or the desired place you would love to retire into. Evaluate your assets and determine if they can cover long-term expenses within your retirement plan. Create a long-term care fund by setting aside specific assets or savings dedicated to long-term care. Consider creating a separate account for these funds to ensure that they are available when needed. Explore standalone and hybrid long-term care policies. Compare the benefits, cost, and coverage of each type of policy to find out one that suits your needs. Understand government-funded care and the requirements, especially if you are part of a married couple with varied health statuses. In conclusion, make a plan for peace of mind. Long-term care planning is an essential component of a comprehensive retirement plan. It provides the security of knowing you will be cared for regardless of the future. By taking the necessary steps now, or pretty soon, when we all will have received our commissions from OnPassive, you can protect your assets, maintain control over your care decisions, and ensure that your preferred care options are accessible. Remember that if we don't, we run the risk of suffering miserably by the hands of those we love the most. While it can be hard to imagine a time when we all will need help with daily activities to keep living independently, most of us will need long-term care at some point in our lives. What's more is that it can happen to anyone. Even younger people who become injured, disabled, or ill can find themselves needing long-term care. It is important to be transparent with loved ones about financial matters and keep detailed records in preparation for future care needs. Having open, honest discussions with our loved ones in advance can keep everyone on the same page and smooth transition when you need care without any added stress or uncertainty. Document your plan and store it safely along with other legal documents like your will, power of attorney, trust funds, or other care directives. We now need to stop and consider the sunset years of our lives. Picture a serene afternoon, lounging in your favorite chair with a beloved book or TV series. Think what aid will be available when it no longer be able to manage, when you are no longer be able to manage all by yourself. How can I maintain my independence and still get the best care that I need? This is the question that I want to leave with all of us this evening. Thank you for listening. Back to you, our moderator, Sister Debbie.
Wow, Queen Sister Julie, this is an awesome week for me because all what you've just shared is something that I've not had the opportunity to hear from anywhere. So we really, really appreciate you sharing that. What a wonderful mindset. And the long-term care, if I heard you well, these are all services. Yes, we agree that we are supposed to know, but where do we go to hear about all these that you mentioned? Yes, we know. We also know that we have to be proactive, but not a lot of people are aware of that, and a lot of us depreciate our savings. We deplete everything, and we forget that we have other things that we needed to do, and we don't plan very well. So that's why the long-term financial planning, as you mentioned, is very essential. And not everybody cares about it, but there are others who do, depending on which part of the world you're living in. Thank you so much. So if I heard very well, the documentation of whatever your wishes are for long-term planning based on your health and your family history is also very, very essential. You cannot disregard that. I mean, from what I'm hearing, if I were to interpret, if you're from a family that has sickle cell, you know what to do to prevent that. You know how to plan. If you have a career, you know how to educate all those people on how to deal with it. That's my understanding from what Sister Julie is sharing. And this is not something we can ignore because we are here to stay and we have to support one another in the process of our journey. All right. Thank you so much, Queen Sister Julie. That was an awesome mindset. And it's just so humbly listening to you on a weekly basis. I see my Queen Sister Joyce Hicks is here. Welcome, sis. It's so lovely. You're looking so great. Now you're all dressed up, bundled as if it's so cold where you are. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm in Chicago. It's very warm today. It's 82 degrees today. It's as if it's summer. And then from Saturday, it's supposed to rain. And from tomorrow, it's 38 degrees. Can you believe from 82 to 38? That's life. We move on, right? So at this stage, I'm going to pass over to my wonderful co-moderator who is always here with me, and we learn from each other, we educate one another, and we smile and cry with one another. I will pass it over to her so she can introduce our next speaker for the night. Welcome, Sister Joyce, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Sister Debbie. Awesome. Thank you, Julie. Debbie, I just love moderating with you, and you do such a wonderful job. You just inspire me, so I really appreciate you so much. Thank you and welcome, everyone. So great to be here on tonight, and thank you, Julie, for that beautiful mindset. That was wonderful, talking about long-term care. As you said, a lot of people don't want to think about that, but it's something that we all need, and we need to think about, consider, and discuss with our families. Because at some point we know down the line, we or someone that we love will need long-term care. And this is a great topic because I know DrJohn has some awesome information for us, as he always does, to educate us and to get us in that mindset and that we can learn about long-term care, because as it stated before, sometimes we don't think about these things. And when it does happen, I do have people that I know that never had that type of insurance or didn't really think about it. And when it happened, and I know DrJohn will cover this, they thought it was in their insurance plan, and they got to that space and it was not there. And so they were in scrambling and trying to get things set. And it's a hard thing to do because now you're behind the 8 ball. And so, and like you said, the government, they do not offer a lot of help. And I know DrJohn will cover a lot of this as well. And when you do, if you do get into that point where you do have to have long-term care, with the government, they're going to take about everything that you have, and you'll be left with a little bit of nothing. So, and I'm going to stop here because I want to hear his information, because he has accurate information, and he's going to educate us. And I'm just talking about things that I've heard that I, hear. But DrJohn, he is a great presenter. He's always here. He has awesome information, very educational. And I would say get your pens and your pencils and your paper out, write down notes, write down your questions if you have anything, because he'll talk about something that you may have heard, it's a myth, or you misunderstand it. But if you write that question down or write it down, and he can answer that for you. So this is the perfect time to get all those questions answered. And I'd like to give the floor over to no one other than DrJohn. We appreciate you so much, everything that you do. And I know we're ready tonight. So DrJohn, I'd say I can introduce him, but he already makes his own introduction. So he is here with us all the time. He has great information. And DrJohn, the floor is yours. Thank you so much. And if you're talking, you are muted, DrJohn.
Yes, okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Queen Joyce for the intro, and Queen Julie. Wow. Okay. So I guess I can just say any questions because we have had the full presentation, and really it's an honor once more to be with you beautiful people here today. I hope you're having a tremendous time. I know some of you are in the peak of summer in October. Others are in the winter, but you know, we just take it as it comes. And I think when Queen Julie asked me what we should talk about, I sort of almost said I don't know what we want to talk about, and then I just thought maybe we should talk about long-term care, and so this is something that is a topic I don't think I've shared pieces of it. I don't know whether this platform, other platforms, and I wanted not to go and have the long version of the presentation, but there are a couple of things that when I was listening to Queen Julie talk and even hearing some of the things that Queen Joyce just said, I'm gonna talk about them again just to fill in those blanks. But before we did so, if you can see my screen, I called long-term care, like the final piece of our retirement strategy. Why did I say final piece? Because for many of us, we never think about it until when it's needed. For many of us, there is a lot of misconception as to what it entails. And so we never think about it when we're looking at retirement. Somebody, for those of us here in the United States, somebody said, if you think about it, the 401k that we think of what we think of as our retirement plan happens to be, if you take 401k to mean 401,000, that's almost like the cost of healthcare in retirement. So if you think of a couple and think about an average family, how many people have like $400,000 to take care of their health? And we're talking in most cases of people who are just looking at it in terms of their health, normal health care costs. And if they need long-term care, the story is totally different. The other thing I want to say is the final piece is because, as Queen Julie might have mentioned, this, even me, before I actually got into understanding it, I always thought of long-term care as, those elderly ones who are in a nursing home. That was my definition of long-term care before I really understood what it is. Just as a statistic, and we're going to go through those statistics, there's about 40% of people below the age of 60, they do get some sort of long-term care from accidents, from short-term or not short-term disabilities, but disabilities that go longer than your normal work. So there is a significant percentage of people below 65 that get into a nursing home environment. And we will talk about those that go past 65 later. But before we actually dive into our discussion, last week, and then we had last week, we had like a fire chat, and there was a general Q&A. And during that general Q&A, I remember our Queen Julie did ask a question about a generational skip trusts, and I did give some sort of an answer, and I promised that I was going to look at it a bit more, and if there were additional stuff I wanted to share out, bring during our next meeting. So what I'm going to just start is just quickly go through what these generational skipping trusts, or GSTs, as they're known, are, and what they're really there for. And I need to preface by saying that these trusts, this particular structure, I would say, is primarily set up here in the United States to for tax purposes, if I can put it that way. And what it basically is that if you have like a trust that you've set up, and that trust, you have your beneficiaries of that trust. In most cases, the beneficiaries are typically our children and so on. But if you intentionally skip those children and get the grandchildren to be the beneficiaries, then you've basically called it as a generational skip trust, because those the beneficiaries to that trust are not the direct children but the grandchildren. And why would people be doing that is because normally, like here in the US, we have all these estate taxes that people pay when their estate passes from one generation to the other. And then, so just imagine if I pass my assets to my children, and those assets they meet a certain threshold, they will pay estate taxes on them, both federal and state. And then when they eventually pass those to the next generation, there could also be another generation that would have to pay those taxes. So people set up these trusts where they intentionally try to say, my children have no access to those, or no access to, they will not be the ultimate beneficiaries, so that they avoid those estate taxes from parents to children. And again, I was just thinking it through and saying, if you actually end up creating for yourself like a family trust where the different trustees are going to be managing it, this could actually become a moot idea anyway, because that trust owns everything. The trust doesn't die. But it is really an effective wealth preservation tool for people who have a significant assets and savings. And when I talk about significant, you see the numbers. So basically, what they say is that while the grandchildren are typically the beneficiaries, sometimes any person who is 37 and a half years or younger, who is not like a spouse or a direct child of the grantor or whoever created that trust, could apply. It could apply to them. And it really, as I said, is meant to provide this financial benefit, excuse me, to those grandchildren. But if you think about it, somebody who sets up a trust, even though the children are not the direct beneficiaries to the trust, you can actually write in the trust that the trust would provide funds for the upkeep of the family. So they would still have, the children themselves can still benefit from the trust, but it's just the point that if at the point of transferring the assets, they don't go to those kids, they go to the grandkids. And that's really, you ask why go through this convoluted way of doing things. It basically comes down to how taxation of assets primarily in the United States is. So before 2018, I think the Congress in the United States has set it at a threshold of about $5 million, above which, if you transfer your assets to the next generation, they get they would not actually have those federal estate taxes attached to them. In 2018, those numbers were drastically increased, basically from 5 million to 13.5 million for each person, which means a couple could basically transfer $27.2 million to their next generation without having to worry about estate taxes. And so obviously there was a lot of uproar when this came out, because how many people have this amount of assets to transfer? So the law, as is currently written here in the United States, this law is going to expire, as well as all the present tax brackets that are existing. It will all expire on the 31st of December 2025. So if Congress does not do anything, which If you look at the way the country is financially with the national debt, I really doubt, but who knows? If Congress does not do anything, these numbers are literally going to revert back to the $5 million per person, which is still a significant amount of money. So if you look at it as a law, really it's meant to benefit people of very, very, or what they call it, the ultra high net worth individual. So the average, me and you for now, don't need to worry. In the future, as things start happening, we start getting into unpassive, some of us may find ourselves getting into this bracket where you may have to start thinking about setting up your trusts, to start thinking of generational skipping. But in reality, if you have been following up and you see what we had been doing, where you end up actually creating like a family trust where they're going to be trustees in multiple generations. Once those assets have been funded into that trust, then and their taxes paid, there will be no issue of transferring from one generation to another, because the trust owns it, and it's just the trustees that change from generation to generation to manage it. So that's what I wanted to quickly talk about. It's primarily here in the United States that these GSTs are prevalent, but we don't need to really concern ourselves with it for now. Okay, so that brings us back to our topic, which I call, again, the final piece of our retirement strategy. So the question is, why would somebody really want to think about long-term care? Because when we look at retirement, in many countries and everywhere, there is this magic number that people think, oh, I'll retire at 65, I'll retire at 62, and so on. But in reality, if we had all the financial means, you would choose when to retire. You will not retire based on some particular age. But the assets that we need in retirement to maintain our lifestyle, to provide financial security for our spouses and for our children, are things that we don't have to think about them when we get to that point of retirement. And so, because there have been a lot of misconceptions about long-term care, ranging from the fact that a lot of people say, I don't think I'll ever need it, to even some of those that have the financial means, saying that they think they can always provide for themselves, to the ones that do not really understand what long-term care actually means. All of those things lead a lot of people to be completely exposed. So if I come back to this graphic that we must have seen at least several times, talking about taking care of your financial future, and the foundation being to build that protection of life, health, disability insurance, you see that long-term care actually comes in under that particular category of the protection. Because if you don't, just like any insurance in general, when you go to get it, the insurance companies, first and foremost, are out there to do like businesses. They are private businesses. So they have to be able to be profitable, because if they're not profitable, they will not be able to pay all the premiums in the future. And while they are very, very careful in the way that they manage their finances and all of that, they need this large pool of people to ensure so that they can continuously pay for those claims. On the other hand, whenever me and you go and apply, we are applying saying, I want to get some coverage just in case something happens to me. Either I die prematurely or I get sick or whatever. And on the other hand, the insurance company is hoping that you live as long as possible so that whatever monies you're putting, they can also build and invest it to grow and provide enough so that they can pay out in later years. It is only when you buy like term policies, like people who go buy like 10-year policies, 20-year policies, or up to 30-year policy, the insurance company, is betting that you stay long, and you're buying it saying, God forbid I die early. So, but when it comes to the other permanent ones, they really want to look for people that would be in for the long run. And so underwriting becomes a critical thing. And I can tell you, I've come across a lot of people that, I know that they need it, but they get turned down at the underwriting because, many of us, we hit the age of 50. You go do either a couple of PSA tests for the men, or you do smear tests, or you go do breast examinations for the female, and occasionally they tell you to go see another specialist so that they can do another follow-up check. All those trails of see this person, see this person, see this person, that information is all available. And when the insurance companies that you're going out to get these products, they want to do the underwriting, they're trying to underwrite and see, they'll happily insure somebody that they can guarantee will live for the next 500 years. And if they see that you're going to not be there for the next 3 years, they're going to turn you down. So part of the planning that we normally tell people is that while we're still young, healthy, and insurable, we should be thinking about all of this, including long-term care. And so what's it about long-term care? When I started, I told you that my initial thought of long-term care was an old person in a nursing home. But the truth of it is that long-term care is actually a continuum of services that are provided for people. And we'll look at the criteria for somebody being described as needing long-term care shortly. But I saw this article in the Wall Street Journal. It's about about 4 years or more now. And you can see the part that is highlighted in yellow. They say the need for long-term care is perhaps the most costly unexpected expense in retirement. It's just one sentence, but it's a very, very loaded sentence. It is perhaps the most costly, but if you think about it again, it said what? Unexpected expense. Because many of us don't really think about it until we actually need it. Somebody said, and in a training I attended, that if you think about this insurance and health insurance, whatever insurance in general, it's like a parachute. When you don't have it when you need it, it's too late. So while you're still seated at your seat and the cabin crew members are out there explaining where your parachute is located and how to put it on, that is the time to listen and actually understand, because when there's turbulence, or if the plane is going down, nobody is going to start telling you how to do it anymore. And if you look on the right side of this graphic, I'll tell you these numbers are, at the very least, and I think I shared some of this earlier in some other platform. These numbers here are actually costs for providing long-term care in this different continuum of provider spaces. starting with home health care. So home health care didn't used to be as prevalent as it's become after COVID, because everyone knows what happened during COVID when nursing homes became like funeral homes and so on. So a lot of people, 98% of people now, given the choice, would prefer to actually have the care in their own home settings. But even that, if you look at it, I'm saying that these are numbers of really a couple of years back. The average home health care in the United States now is about $56,000. And then the next part that you have are like these community care centers, where the cost there starts getting almost to around, same 50 something $1,000. Again, why most of the people who go there, they actually go either for respite care or they go and come back. And you then get to the point where somebody may need a full-blown nursing home care. And the average duration of stay in a nursing home at the moment is about 4 years or so. So if you think about it, the projection here is that by 2036, it'll be creeping close to $250,000 a year for somebody to be in a nursing home. I mean, an average decent quality nursing home, obviously. So if you look at somebody that's been working and they end up with $500,000 of funds in their retirement account, and then they get into a nursing home situation and realize that those funds are going to only sustain them for 2 years. Then we start to experience a situation where a former colleague of mine, and this was a really difficult situation, but this is a true story, where this guy's parents were elderly. The father went into a nursing home and stayed there for almost 3 years and 11 months and used up all their retirement savings and then passed away. One of the sisters took the mother until when it got to a point that the mother needed almost 24-hour round-the-clock care. They were looking at taking her into a nursing home facility. But at that point, they had less than $100,000 left of any money to take care of her. And I remember the day that they found a place for her just here in New Jersey, in the US here. The guy came to work and was telling me how, that the wife is literally in a depressed state because her and her siblings, they just put their mother in a nursing home. They know that there are not enough funds to take care of their mother beyond 1 year. And they hope she doesn't stay there for that long to become completely broke and then has to start going to Medicaid. But on the other hand, they don't really like to lose their mother. So you can see it was like a torturous thing for the family. And when you look at it, and they start asking people like, what percentage of the population, this is a survey again here in the United States, they are concerned about their costs, healthcare costs in retirement, getting out of control. About 80% of the people really feared for that. Why? Because healthcare costs are growing at about twice the rate of inflation. And that's a fact. It does not only here in the United States. So when you look at it, as I just said, long-term care, you start from services that you require them to support what we call your basic needs. When we are not able to take care of our some of the what we call activities of daily living, we're going to touch on them, and the the problems that we have, at least for those of us here in the United States, is that when you ask a lot of them, they would think that Medicare, which is really a healthcare plan for the elderly here in the United States, a lot of people think that when they get to 65 and they get Medicare insurance, it will cover them for long-term care. That is a very big fallacy. Medicare would provide limited coverage. In fact, they would provide 3 pints of blood and they'll provide coverage for 100 days of stay in a facility. And during those 100 days, for the first 20 days, they cover 80%, and the rest of the 80 days, you cover 20, they cover 20%, and then after that, you are on your own. And in most cases, they even provide that coverage after you have been in a hospital environment for at least 3 days before you transfer there. So our healthcare plan is supposed to provide you with your health care, like your healthcare insurance is doing at your work, but not for long-term care. And then so most people, when they get to that point, they're really shocked to find out. And then you find out that, and this is the information I was just talking about. The other part that a lot of people, like in the United States, they think about is that they think Medicaid, again, that is insurance for the poor, would cover long-term care. The truth is, yes, it does. But when they want to classify you as needing long-term care, you have to have countable assets worth $2,000 or less. So, Queen Joyce, if you have your nice car there, which is $20,000, that automatically disqualifies you from Medicaid, even if you don't have any other funds. And by the way, if you just say, oh, I'm going to gift it away to my daughter so that I have nothing, they would actually look back 5 years and see things that you gave away for the last 5 years and said, okay, if in the last 5 years you gifted away your house, you gave away your cars, and they assess all of those, they will say, okay, you gave away $200,000 worth of stuff, and therefore you have to get that money somehow and take care of yourself until you're below the $2,000 limit. So a lot of people need some sort of insurance, or if they don't, obviously many of us will end up like those of us here who I call the sandwich generation. We take care of our children, we take care of our parents, and we have to take care of ourselves. Because the truth of the matter is, even if you have very loving kids, the way that the cost of living is going, we'll just be happy that they are able to take care of themselves. So for them to take care of themselves and also come and take care of us is asking too much. So the good news is that when you look at some of the critical things from a healthcare that have been happening in the US and even globally, we have actually had, because of health, because of medical care, we have actually had significant reduction in things like breast cancers because of early detections. There's been a significant reduction in the overall incidence of heart attacks, although, again, if you look at it again across the demographics, it varies. And strokes are also down. But then the flip side is, with longevity, cognitive impairments and Alzheimer's are becoming increasingly rampant. So we get that the older population, they're thinking that by 2050, there will be so many people above 100. Most of those people probably will need a lot more care than we actually have at the moment. So when we talk about aging, really, we need to make sure that we have asset management goals that actually evolve with time and with our age. And taking care of our health is one of those critical ones. Why? Because when you look at those risks that I showed up there, they put them they put them in two buckets. There are those cognitive risks, there are the physical risks, but then there are also financial risks, which can actually magnify some of those earlier risks. So the idea of people running out of money or not being able to just be mobile, there are those type of risks that we need to plan for. When we're looking at our retirement, maybe we look at the housing, we look at the financial, but these health ones are the things that we need to be taking care of. So when somebody here is diagnosed as needing long-term care, there are a couple of key things that they look for to assess and say, does this person qualify for long-term care? And they are called ADIs or ADL, so activities of daily living. And those activities of daily living, you either have to meet 2 of these 6 that I've listed here, which are bathing, dressing, eating, transferring. That's your ability to get in and out of bed by yourself, toileting, and then continence. If you cannot perform 2 of these out of these 6 without any assistance, then you are considered as having met the triggers for long-term care. The other factor is cognitive impairment. As long as somebody is diagnosed in the United States with Alzheimer's or cognitive impairment, they automatically are classified as being qualified for long-term care. So when we look at all of those factors and look at some of the statistics, you realize that right now in America alone, and you can see that with longevity across the world, we have more than 6 million people in the US that are really cognitively impaired with Alzheimer's. And we have, unfortunately, a lot of people who are there providing care for these people in what we call the unpaid or informal means. So family members, especially daughters, are the ones who become the main caregivers. In majority of them are women that are providing this care for an elderly parent. And the reason is because the cost of actually providing this care is really prohibitive. So if you look at it, the facts are that the longer that we live, the more likely we are to require long-term care. In fact, I thought I had a number somewhere, but literally, if you look at it, over 60% of the people that are above the age of 65 will at some point, or 70% of the people who are above 65 will at some point in their lives require some sort of care. And the question is, who and where are they going to provide that care? And you're beginning to see again here that they're talking about 1 in 3 seniors, by the time they pass away, they have some sort of dementia. So with all of these things here, we have to start thinking ahead when we're looking at our retirement planning and say, where are we going to actually, how are we going to provide for this care for them? And as I mentioned earlier, when many people are presented with this issue, you have a couple of responses. The first one is, yeah, I don't think I'll ever need it. Another one is, oh, I know of my auntie who bought an insurance policy. They never used it, so this is a waste of money. Or for some of us who may be able to afford to do it, we sort of say, you know what, I can self-insure, so I don't want to waste my money. So what I wanted to just spend time to say is that when we look at it, like the one of the biggest nations in this on earth here, like in the US, and I'll expect that this, if anything, the statistics should be worse for a lot of countries. We know that less than 10% of people in America, that's a crazy number. Less than 10% actually have some sort of long-term coverage. And it, as I said, it just boils down to the fact that there are lots and lots and lots of misconceptions about long-term care. If you listened to Queen Julie's presentation, she talked about different possible solutions. And I would say there are three big categories of possible solutions, as I put them. One of them is what they called the traditional or standalone policies. And these traditional policies, you bought them, you paid for them, and then it's like, the insurance company is praying that you live a long and healthy life and never really make a claim, and you sleep and pass away peacefully in your sleep. And then they said, well, you bought the insurance in case you needed it. You didn't need it. So at least you had a peace of mind. And then you have some other ones that basically they call hybrid or linked benefits solutions. And the third option is life insurance with living benefits. I think we had talked about them separately at previous presentations, but I'm going to just go through and discuss more some of the features and what I see are some of the benefits. The first one on standalone or traditional or long-term care, at least as far as the United States is concerned, I don't think a lot of companies offer them anymore. For two reasons. Some people, when some of the companies started realizing that people were buying these policies and, they were either benefiting a lot and then the second generation of people saw it that, hey, this thing that it's a use it or lose it, I'm not going to buy. They started having situations where the population of the percentage of the population who were buying traditional insurance started reducing. So if you remember, they prefer large numbers. And when they started getting a situation where that population was beginning to shrink, they actually started buying people out. I have a former colleague of mine. She is in Florida right now. She had one of these traditional policies, which basically said if she needs long-term care, they're going to be able to pay $290 every day for her long-term care for 5 years. And the premiums that she's paying, because she locked herself in like when she was 40 or so, she's 64 now. They have been begging her, that have you considered, other type of policies that you could use instead of these ones and she sent it to me, say, Dr. John, can you review this? I looked at it, I said, do you have a safe? And she said, yes. I said, please go and notarize it and keep it in a safe, because these people are trying to get you out of it, because this is something which nobody is buying anymore. They want to get as many people out of it. So from a customer point of view, people did not like the fact that they will pay and maybe never use it. But from the business side of it, because the population that is buying this standalone insurance reduced, they just want to get out of it. So you rarely see people selling traditional insurance. So what do we have now? We have these two other options of what I call the hybrid or the living benefits of a life insurance. So let's look at one of the other things that led to the changes in the insurance, the long-term care insurance market is that when you look at the traditional insurance, a majority of the people who are there are like, it's really the women. Two reasons. One, if you look at the cohort of people who bought it, guess what? The men are gone. So mainly the women are left. And secondly, when you talked, the people who are most likely to say, you know what, I am healthy, I am strong, I'll never need long-term care, are the men. So if you look across the board, you realize that men really need the education on long-term care. And I normally, when I sit with a couple, I let the women know that don't worry, keep this statistic the same way. Why? Because you, the ladies, end up taking care of the men, and then the men leave you holding an empty can. So make sure, at the very least, that you, the ladies, have some sort of coverage for yourselves. Because if you look at it just from the statistics, the women have a longer lifespans. When you look at it from statistics, most of the women or a higher percentage of women suffer from osteoporosis or brittle bones and end up having like a lot of these injuries that will lead them to requiring long-term care more so than men. So there are a couple of things that we need to, whoever is going to get a long-term care for themselves need to consider. The first thing is, when it comes to how you're reimbursed by the insurance company, there are two primary ways. They either cash indemnity or reimbursable. Cash indemnity basically says, if you're considered, if they assess that you need the long-term care, the insurance company will literally be sending you a check on a monthly basis. What do you choose to do with that check? Whether you want to use it to stay in a nursing home or in a home health care setting, that's up to you. Versus the reimbursable policy, where you have provided a service, they give you a receipt and you submit that invoice for a claim. So many people nowadays are beginning to look for the cash indemnity versus the reimbursable ones. And then you want to also know whether some of these companies, they would allow you to have the care in an informal setting, like from family and friends, or only restrict you to some of these facilities. So when it comes to how the benefits for both of these formal and informal care are, make sure that the company that you are dealing with will give you at least that cash indemnity option, so that you can even pay a family member to take care of yourself, or a friend or somebody in an area you want. And some of these policies, the beauty of it is that these newer ones, even when you have used up the long-term care, some of them may actually come with a residual death benefit. They also give you the options to pay for your premiums in different ways. You can literally repurpose some money that you have set aside for your retirement and buy a bigger insurance in a lump sum. You can go and pay over a 5-year period, over a 10-year period, or some of them will actually allow you to be paying on a monthly period all the way up to age 100. And then you will find out that some of them, they would tell you that the payout would be as a fixed rate. It will be inflation linked, or it will be compounded based on the inflation rate. So you have to be aware and choose what you think is good for you. And then when you look at the ages for issuing these policies, typically most companies will allow you to buy some of these policies between the ages of 40 and 75. Or some companies will even allow you, if you're doing a life insurance option, you could even add it as early as 2025. Obviously, when it comes to long-term care, most of them have what they call the 90-day elimination period, which basically says once you have been diagnosed, then they will let 90 days pass. So they establish that that is not a short-term disability. And after the 90 days, they will then kick in. And there are some companies that would kick in on day number 91, start paying from 91 onwards. Some would actually backdate and start from day number 1. And then the other thing that a lot of companies really do is they, and I think the law requires that, because we are dealing with elderly people mostly, they actually give the option for what they call the lapse protection. So if maybe the person forgets to pay their premium, it could be that the person is beginning to suffer from Alzheimer's. There is some period of time during which, if they realize it and pay back the premiums, their policy will always be restarted. But in most cases, whenever you get these policies issued to you, you always have what they call the free look period. So I don't care where you buy it from, there must be a free look period, which basically says during a period of time that you have been issued that policy, if you look at it and you think maybe what the agent sold to you was not the right thing, you can return it, get your money, no questions asked. So same thing if you bought a car, at least here in the US, and then you went and you did not like it after a certain number of days, you can come back with it and get your money. Some of the companies actually have a cool feature called return of premium. And it basically says that if you can actually, when you're paying your policy, it vests over a period of time. And then once you go past that vesting period, you can choose to actually have a return of premium if you either cancel that policy or something happens to you and you never used that policy, then your beneficiaries would actually get a return of your premiums that you paid, or a certain percentage of those premiums. So very briefly here, this is an example of one of those what I called hybrid or linked benefits type of policy. And here in this situation, we had somebody who literally had $162,000 that they had set aside for their long-term care. And then what happened was they used that money to buy a long-term care insurance. And the company guaranteed to them that when they get to the point where they need the policy, for the first 2 years of this policy, they'll get like $105,000 worth of long-term care. And then subsequently, they would get an additional, what they call extended benefit for another $211,000, for a total of literally $316,000 from the $162 that they put in. And even if this person over a period of 6 years or where they were using like $4,000 of care a month, ended up using that 316,000. At that point, even if the person dropped dead, they would still, or their family would still have a death benefit of $21,000. So for a policy like this one, basically by repurposing 162,000, the person ends up with a potential 316 plus 21, which is like 340-ish. Now, what happens if that individual just never used that policy and passed away? Then the family would get that return of premium down here, which, as I said, is a portion of that amount they put in, because there was some of that money that was used for protection while they were alive. So something like this one becomes useful because it doesn't end up being that use it or lose it option. Again, there is underwriting that is required, but what we normally do is that we submit, and the underwriters will come back and say, okay, this is what we think the person really, really needs. Now, that is the linked benefit type of policy or long-term care policies that exist. The life insurance portion is something that, I think, again, we have talked about a lot. There are some types of life insurance policies, like universal life policies, which will allow you to add riders in those policies. And one of the riders that is added is a long-term care. So let's say somebody bought a life insurance for $500,000. The $500,000, they could actually choose to add that, to pay a nominal amount to get the long-term care insurance included. And let's say that somewhere down the road, that person needs long-term care. What will happen is that the insurance company will actually start advancing you your life insurance. So if that $500,000, they will start advancing it to you over a period of time for you to use to take care of yourself. If you end up, for maybe 5 years or so, and you could literally use the entire life insurance, and then when the person passes away, maybe there's just a nominal amount that is passed to the beneficiaries. If the person never uses the long-term care, then that money remains there as the life insurance for the beneficiaries. So this is another option where people actually consider it as a better option, because they know that they're not really going to lose their money. So I wanted to just share some of this, because as we move into unpassive, and as we start looking at it even before then, what I normally tell people is that when we talked about this foundation of getting some of those protection, the sooner you can get something, even small, the better, because if health or life happens and you then become uninsurable, there is nothing you can do about it. And in most cases, whether you take the hybrid or you take the life insurance with the living benefits, I would say in a majority of the situations, it's not that you just lost your money, you just leveraged your money, and if you never need it, it's out there for your beneficiaries. And just like with the life insurance, you could choose to put that in the name of your trust, or you can decide to keep it in your own name. That all depends on you. I know that there's a lot on this topic that we can talk about, but I think it's been going for long. I'm going to pause here, and maybe if people have specific questions, we can address them. But it is important that we understand that this is something which could actually mess up with your retirement portfolio if we do not think about it ahead of time. Thank you very much for listening. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to pass it back over to you, Queen Joyce.
Wow, wow, wow. Dr. John, that was just some awesome information. Something that we really need. And like you say, things that we don't think about. And when you started naming off those numbers and talking about how much long-term care costs, it's mind-blowing because we don't ever think about that, $56,000 once, and then it just almost like tripled and quadrupled. And you think about that, it's like when you have saved up, like you said, the average person saves up, and we have that, maybe that $250,000, $300,000, and if something happens, whether you're married or single, and it gets used up, and then you're stuck. So, wow, that was just awesome. And we're all not we're all, a lot of us are at a point now where we really, like I said, it's just so important that we really should be thinking about this, because we're at that time in life where you don't have to be an older, seasoned person. You could be anyone, and anything could happen at any given time. And, just being prepared, knowing this information is just going to help us moving forward. And, like Dr. John said, it's a lot of information to take in, but if we, listen to it, and if you have questions on tonight, specific question that he may have talked about, and something that you want to ask Dr. John, can you please raise your hand, and we will get that question answered for you. So, and remember, no question is way out there. No question is silly. No question is off the table, because it's something that someone else may have wanted to ask, and you ask, and you may answer that question for them. So if you have a question, please raise your hand, and Dr. John will answer. Hi, Sister Pat. Great to see you. I see you raised your hand. If you can go ahead and open your mic, we will love to have your question. Thank you. Welcome, Pat.
Hi,
Pierre.
Sister Joyce. Thank you.
Hello.
My question is, you were talking about the policy of one of your friends that had $200 some a day or whatever. I have one of those. Should I be going to get it notarized?
Not necessarily notarizing it, Pat. Since you have it, just keep it. I was just trying to make sure that they understood the importance of not getting rid of it. I mean,
No, I won't.
yeah, that's because I just wanted them to say, listen, you don't know what you have, so just treat it as almost like a piece, like a piece of gold, because the companies, if you went and asked them whether they should cancel it, they will encourage you to. Yeah, so you don't need to notarize it. I was just trying to make sure they understood the importance of it.
Because my policy is whether I'm in the hospital after 3 days you start paying me, or if I end up in long term.
Right.
And then there's a beneficiary payout after I pass away.
If there's like a death benefit, if nothing is, if it's not used, yes. So that congratulations for having that. Please, the only thing I always tell you is make sure that you know the company that's there or your agent, and just keep in touch with them. Just make sure that any correspondences that you're having with them, they stay current, because one of the worst things that I have seen is that people buy these policies, and then they don't tell anybody about it. And what happens in the end is that when something happens to that person, nobody knows.
Well, I just used it 2 weeks ago, Dr. John, when I was in the hospital. For 8 days, I get paid so much a day. So
Good.
yeah, so that's That's awesome. Thank you. I just wanted to know if I needed to notarize it.
No, you don't need to notarize it.
Okay, thank you.
Great question, Pat. That was really good. That was something that I'm sure someone else wanted answered. And like you say, you don't need it notarized, and you have that policy. As Dr. John said, congratulations. So that's something that's very important. So, and as we can see it in life, you know, that is very important. We have, maybe some of you have those policies, and Pat says like 3 days or you know, long term. So thank you, Dr. John, for answering that. Thank you for that great question, Pat. We appreciate it. Mamadou, welcome. I see your hand is up. Welcome, welcome. The mic is yours. You can open your mic and ask your question. Thank you.
Sister Joyce, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Oh, okay. First of all, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all my beloved family. I just want to thank Uncle John. My goodness. Thank you very much for bringing this topic tonight. But before I thank you, let me first of all thank Queen Julie, because this is something that is very, very, very important, but people always tend to neglect it. I don't know whether because some of us, we are still healthy and we think we may not need long-term care. But this is something that is very, very important. You know, I'm speaking as a caregiver who has been working in this long-term care for a long time now. And really, I have seen a lot of people who have been somebody when they were healthy. They've owned their houses, owned their properties, have money. But because they did not put a proper planning for this kind of long-term care setting, you know, some of them, they own their houses. They don't bother to transfer those properties or give them to whoever is their beneficiary before they need the care. Because in long-term care setting, it has about 3 sets of people. You know, you have people that just undergo surgeries and just go to the nursing home for like a short time, just to go do rehab. And you have other people who need that long-term setting, you know. And if it happened that you did not dispose or transfer your property and then your asset, and then you ended up in this nursing home, that's what makes some of them pass away so fast, because when they've already used their cash savings, another thing, and then they need Medicaid or Medicare. Medicaid now, as you rightly said, they don't come to your aid as long as you have something worth than $2,000. They won't come to your aid until you sell that property, and then they use that money on you. And when it's finished, that's the time they will come. And for Medicare, for this long-term care from the government, sort of, believe me, it's just a tiny, because that even may prevent the people from getting the necessary care they're supposed to get, because Medicare don't, for example, like rehab, they don't allow for you to be taking rehab continuously. They will only give like 2 weeks. After the 2 weeks, they need to put you aside and wait back after some months if you happen to be in the long-term setting. So, we've seen a lot of constraints and sudden death based on that. Because in this nursing home, Uncle John, everything you see in this nursing home, ranging from accommodation, where you are, your room, your bed, and now you talk about your activities of daily living. Everything, if you need to be assisted in terms of washing or bathing, dressing, everything, feeding, eating, everything, you have to pay for it.
Pay. Yep.
In some of them, if they tell you how much they pay per a month, believe me, you wonder. And we will see, but we don't make preparation for that. We don't make preparation for that at all. If I tell you, like this small cup of juice that you see, I don't know, cranberry or orange juice cup, you see those small cups. One time I saw, when I started working here, that was 2011, they made a mistake. They used to put the price of that juice. It used to cost $3 for that tiny cup. So it is very, very expensive in living in a nursing, in a long-term care. So thank you very, 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 very much for highlighting this to us. Because some of us, we are here, but believe me, we don't prepare for that. We think that, in African setting, when you old people, family take care. We forget that we are now in America, whereby nobody cares. If you don't prepare for yourself, at the end, you won't have no assistance, because you say you depend on government. No, government will not be there for you. So thank you very much. And I hope everybody that is listening to what you just said will take it very, very serious, because I have seen it. I have seen a lot of people that, for example, like when you talk about husband and wife, for example, if the husband is sick, believe me, because of this constraint, the wife will tend to be taking care of that husband at home. At the end, the wife will die before the husband, because that wife, because of the job she will be doing, that she don't have the training, she will end up injured herself and pass away before the person that is caring for die. And at the end, if that husband happens an insurance that is covered for both of them, that husband will be using all the money before he died. And when he died, he will not leave anything for the beneficiary or for the wife. So really, I just want to just confirm or buttress to what you just told us. I don't have a question now, because I know when I am in need, although I am in need, but when the time comes, I have to meet you personally for all insurance policies that I need. But right now, I don't have a question. I just want to buttress to what you just told us, and to appeal for we that are still living and think that we are healthy. Let us prepare for that time, because long-term setting, it doesn't mean you have to be in the nursing home. You will be at home and be taken care of. But if you don't have the means to pay those who are taking care of you, that's another problem. So thank you very much, Uncle John.
Thank you very much, Mamadou. Thank you.
Thank you, Mamadou. That was great. I really appreciate that from you coming from the medical perspective, you working there, and like you say, you see this every single day. And, that was great contribution and just letting us know that, this is real, it's happening. And what Dr. John is saying, it's just so important that we listen and make sure that we get these things in order. So thank you, Mamadou. I really appreciate that for you sharing with us. Thank you. And David Switzer, thank you so much for being here on tonight.
Hey,
Welcome.
fantastic.
Yes.
Hey, I want to bring something up since we're talking about this. I'm retired now. I've been retired about 8 years. So when you retire, especially the people in the United States, the regular Medicare is a good program to have. Now there's two different programs. You got the regular Medicare and you got the Medicare Advantage plan. Do not get the Medicare Advantage plan because the Medicare Advantage plan will control what doctors you can see and all that, and you also spend more money in that. So if you just get the regular Medicare, that is good enough. So don't go, there are going to be a lot of people who are trying to talk you to take the Medicare Advantage plan. You don't want that. Try to stay away from that. So, like I say, they control what doctors you see. It might end up costing you more money and all that stuff. Now, the plan I have right now, just the regular Medicare, I'm not had any problem with it whatsoever. Now, that pays up to 80%, but you have to get substitute insurance too, and I have that. So whatever my Medicare don't cover, my other insurance covers it. So I get 100% coverage, but that costs you a little bit of money out of your pocket, but you'll be protected. But like I said, that when you do come to that age, it's time to retire someday. That's something you need to look at because I've been retired for quite a while. And now my life insurance, I do have life insurance, but it's about ready to run out. I probably got about a year and a half left on my life insurance, but I have money put away to take care of me if something happens to me. So, but it would cost me a fortune to update my life insurance. I mean, I probably have to pay $300 or $400 a month, and I'm not going to pay that. That's just too much money. But unless I can find something else. But anyhow, I'll worry about that when the time comes. But I'm just thought I'd bring that up about the Medicare because there is two different kinds of Medicare. So that's like I said, Medicare is a good thing to have, but don't go that Medicare Advantage plan because they'll try to talk you into it too. You'll be getting mails and you'll be getting letters and everything else trying to make you switch to that Medicare Medi plan. Don't do it. Just stay with your regular Medicare. It's a good program and it'll do anything you want to do for you. So if you're not in the United States, I don't know if you have that in Canada or nothing like that. So I thought I'd bring that up.
Yeah. Thanks for that, David. So the Medicare is the health insurance plan, and anybody that gets to 65 in the US, you better apply for it. I think 64 years and 10 months. If you don't apply on time, you can actually get a penalty for applying late. So that is the health insurance plan. And so what David is saying is for those health insurance plans for the people in the United States, it's in 4 parts. There's a part A, B, C, D, and the C is the Medicare Advantage, which is really a private insurance supplement onto your Medicare. So if you can choose that option, if you want to get like additional benefits, but the basic one, as he said, is there. What we're discussing primarily now is if you then end up needing long-term care, Medicare will only cover your medications while you're in long-term care. They will not cover you for the nursing home stay, or even if you wanted some home health aid to come do things for you because you were cognitively impaired or have 2 of those activities of daily living. Medicare will typically not cover for those. They will continue to cover for your medications. As for your insurance, I think that's a good thing. You probably had a term insurance, and at a certain age, the cost of insurance increases with age, which is why we always preach for people to get it earlier. There is the other option, and once we'll get into unpassive, you may choose that, okay, I might not want to have another term policy because, say somebody who's 70 and above may no longer have more than just 5 years or so, because typically they insure you up to the age of 80. And so what may happen is people could actually instead get final expenses, which is really funeral expense insurance, if the premiums are okay. And those ones, you could get them, you could literally, somebody could get funeral expenses for just 10,000, 15,000, or whatever is needed for their funeral expenses. But just a side note on that.
Yeah, the younger you get it, the cheaper it is. If you
Right.
wait till you're older in life, you're going to pay a lot more money for it.
Thank
That's
you,
all I
David,
got to say.
so much. Oh, well,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much. Yes, that was so good information, like you said, too, about that Medicare and different types of Medicare and insurance. And thank you, Dr. John, for answering that, for jumping in there. Like you said, if it's be careful in the United States. I don't know what's in other, countries, but
Right.
yes, you have to look at your country and see what type you have and what you need to do. And I'm sure it's different in in Canada and different other places than it is here in the United States. So thank you so much, David, so much. I don't know if there are any other questions. Dr. Benny, are there any in the chat that you have any questions, any comments?
No, the only comment is that Queen Sharon said, great information, Dr. John, and thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes, please. That's all. That's the comment we have.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Benny. And I know it was a lot of information for everyone to take in, but it's a lot to soak up and to just think about some things that we need to do in the right now. I won't say in the near future, but right now. And then, like you said, as unpassive comes forth, and there'll be some other things that we'll have, choices, and be able to talk to Dr. John and, other people about some of the things that we can do, we need to do, and we need to get in place. So I don't know if anyone else had a question, specific question that you wanted to ask Dr. John. He is here to answer those. And you may have something that you want to just say, just comment, that your question may help someone else as well. Thank you. If no questions, I don't know if any of the guest had a question. Any of our panelists had a question. Dr. Benny, Sister Debbie, Julie, a question for Dr. John.
Okay.
Wow. Co-moderator, thank you so much. That was, let me start by appreciating what you do to get us to the next step on this platform. And our presenter, our mindset presenter, and then to this one about long-term care, Dr. John, thank you so much. I started making notes and I paused because it got to the level where I'm trying to figure out how many years do I need to start planning, and how many years should I tell my better half to start planning. And what really puzzles me is the issue of skipping the children and passing over any little thing you have to the grandchildren. And you don't know whether they're coming or they're not. So do you have to put this like in a trust, in a will of last testament, or how does that have to apply to us, making sure that it is whatever you have, if at all any is left. That's one question. And then part two is, it seems even if there's anything left, the long-term care seems to be taking it away from us. So there's really nothing to leave behind the grandchildren. Is that my understanding?
Well, at the beginning of everything, we need to take care of ourselves for a start. Because if we that which is really the problem, because if we don't have this means of taking care of ourselves, we become completely impoverished. And once you guys have probably heard in the US, again, sorry for the people outside, but you've heard things like reverse mortgages, and reverse mortgages come into play when people have run out of money, their own property. You literally give your home to some company that then gives you money to be living off that money. You don't necessarily have to be repaying that loan. And when you pass away, they sell the home. And when they sell the home, they recoup their money plus interest. So reverse mortgages basically means you've liquidated to the point that you're giving away even your home. And then you get the fact that what we're saying is, if we plan ahead and we have enough to take care of ourselves, then whatever is left, again, with the generational skipping trust, if you're not talking of assets of over 5 million, it doesn't really make sense, because there's the gifting limit in the US for each individual is $5 million. That your lifetime, you can literally be sending me money, Queen Benny. You can be sending me money every month as a donation, and you count towards your $5 million of lifetime gifting. So each person can gift up to 5 million, but since 2018, they bumped that number to 12.3 million. So but that is expiring in 2020, December 2025. So what's happening is those who have those monies are probably gifting it to children and putting them in trusts now. So we need not to worry about generational skipping trusts right now. And my recommendation would be, let's plan for our retirement. Let's plan and make sure we have all the necessary protection to take care of ourselves. And then as far as our other assets are concerned, just create a family trust, put it in there. And in that family trust, you can literally say who is going to, you can choose to actually name the beneficiaries or put some conditions for how somebody will benefit from it.
Wow. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate that. I was not expecting such a response, but it's just wowed me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to pause here and pass the microphone to whomever has any comment or question or observation for you. And if no one is willing to speak, I will call on our sister, Queen Julie Pierre. And but before that, actually, I'll call on Dr. Benny if she has anything before I go to Queen Julie Pierre. Please.
Well, thank you so much, Queen Debbie, for giving me this opportunity. I just want to appreciate Queen Julie Pierre for the astonishing mindset. Thank you so much. And I want to thank our King, DrJohn, for this amazing presentation when it comes to this life insurance. I know that some of us, we have not paid anything when it comes to life insurance. And I also noticed that, please, when it comes to our community, some of us, We don't want to purchase insurance. But when somebody died, now they are expecting, that particular family is expecting us now to contribute for the death celebration of that individual. And sometimes, most of the time, I wish our people were here to really understand the importance of life insurance, because I don't think I'm going to be paying anybody, because pay when it's time for us to purchase the life insurance, nobody wants to. And I just want to appreciate Dr. John, and hopefully you will continue to present. If anyone understand and know the importance of the life insurance, they will purchase before they leave the world. I appreciate you, but I want to really thank our Heavenly Father for bringing each and everyone here this evening, because God loves you. God loves everybody. And we just need to take good care of ourselves, especially when it comes to our health. If you don't take care of your health, then you don't know what can happen at any time. I appreciate it, Dr. John, and thank each and everyone for coming. Thank you again, Queen Debbie. I appreciate you. Queen Joyce, I love you all.
We love you too, Dr. Benny. We love you. And yes, you said it all. You know, sometimes we underestimate the power of yes and the power of believing in yourself. And it's always good to have that third voice. And in this case, and tonight, it's our brother reminding us of where we should be. There's never an age to get insurance. Never. My first insurance, I was 26, and I was in HR, and my HR person told me, I am not asking you, I am telling you, you need it and you will get it. And I never regretted that, because she had the experience. But I see it's very useful, to preach that to our next generation and going forward, and our loved ones. Brother David, please proceed.
Yeah, I want to say one thing. Sorry, I got a cold. Remember one thing too, we're a family here. And if something happened to us, I think Passive family would take care of us. That's what I always believe that. So, yeah, like we have done in the past. So, you know, I don't want anybody to feel empty-handed if they don't have insurance, but that's a good thing to look into, a real good thing to look into. And so, but if it came down to the nitty gritty, I think, we're a family, we'll help each other out. That's just honestly believe that. So that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother David. I appreciate your observation. Yes, definitely Pastor will take care of us. So it's round the corner. We've been believing in that. And we know we've lost loved ones before they could get to this stage. And we've experienced things with one of or some of our products which others did not. And we pray that those of us who are still around, that I don't know how many have already disappeared to the underworld, but those of us who are still here, I pray that we continue to believe, we continue to trust in the system, we continue to ask for guidance, and that Passive is going to continue to head in the direction in which we had started. So I'll just hold it there because I don't want us to get too emotional in that direction. And I'll pass the microphone over to our sister, Queen Julie Pierre. Over to you, sis, and thank you.
Thank you, Sister Debbie. Thank you, Sister Joyce. Great moderation, as usual. Dr. John, the reason why I had asked about the generation skipping trust is because I wanted us to be aware of our options well, let me speak for myself. I wanted to be aware of my options when it comes to my leaving my wealth to my children. Now, we there's no running away from it that this generation, our children, they have not been molded into having the proper mindset in handling this type of wealth that we are about to inherit. So I wanted the option, and I am happy that you really explained it nicely. I wanted the option that not necessarily for tax purposes, but to pass on my assets onto my grandchildren, and yet my children will still be benefiting from it.
Mm-hmm.
If you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So I was hoping that since the grandchildren are still younger, I mean, you can't straighten a bent tree. So if I was not able to mold my children into having the proper mindset, at least would have the opportunity to mold the grandchildren, prepare them for that kind of walk through life. And you explained it so nicely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is why it did bring up this question.
Thank you. Thank you, Queen Julie.
Yeah, you're welcome. You've done a phenomenal job with this topic. Gone in areas that I never thought of. And I say thank you to you and your beautiful wife, Dr. Pat, who's always in the background, working hard. I mean, I don't think any of us have really sat and consider thinking of our retirement, our long-term care, because hey, it is gonna come, but I have seen families, and if I may share, I am a victim where my parents, they decided to divide their wealth to the children even before they passed on. My dad has passed away, my mom is still alive. But what happened is that everybody took their share of the property and they went their merry way. And since I was the girl who was left to care for my dad,
Mom.
and this put a real strain on me,
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I mean, I'm not trying to thrash my family, but it was like I had to really sometimes beg for assistance to care for my dad, and I did it for the love of my father. I loved my father to death. But financially, it did put a dent in my pocket. So, this is very, very important that we plan for it. Sometimes the people that we, like I said in previously, sometimes the people that we depend on the most are the ones who disappoint us at the end, because we have our children who go into other families, they marry into other families. And yes, we have molded our children, but they may step away from whatever foundation that we instilled in them, morals and beliefs that we instilled in them. They are adults. Hey, There's nothing we can do about it. So we just have to hope and pray for our children. You know, I mean, children now have the thought that parents are obligated to take care of them, but they have no obligation towards their children, to their parents, you know. So it is a sad situation, you know, that
So,
we have to.
Queen Julie, that's really the crux of why this idea of us preparing came up, because when I mentioned the sandwich generation, now you see where you are. You're that burger in the middle that's being squeezed from both the top and the middle, and that's where it behooves us to start planning. But the good news from all these things that we've been learning, and as I think when Debbie said it, you said it, is this idea that we are faced by a situation where we have, I mean, think about it. We have 1 million plus or about 1 million people in non-passive. And how many of the 1 million people still have the mindset of when we joined on passive 4 years ago? So
Yep.
it hasn't changed. A few of us, we've been lucky to have been in the company of people that have helped us open our mindsets. And I think we are much better than we were a year ago. And if you look just among us, the unperseverance, and you realize that there are some that are, for lack of a better word, still in the dark. And then I would say, let's not feel too hard on our family, because first of all, they think you are in some cult or some Ponzi scheme. So let alone gain a mindset. We have learned through, again, I can speak for myself now, and that's a process I'm going through. Putting like because we discovered like the family trust as an important vehicle. You can literally create your family trust and choose to put it, not let the kids not be the trustees, but put it to an external company to manage it. And that way you specifically put in wordings in it that X will be able to benefit if they meet this criteria. And that would force them. They can choose if they have enough money for themselves, they can go their separate ways, that's fine. But if they really want to come and share in what we're living with them, then you can actually put the conditions. And I remember when I attended a training program on estate planning, there was this guy who said that as far as he was concerned, his son was one of those people who would kind of just relax and enjoy daddy's money. And he had specifically put in his estate plan that the son must produce or must do 100, at least 40 hours of useful work every week to benefit from the trust. And so the trustees were managing it. They could give this guy $100,000 or $200,000, but he had to go work, even if it meant working in a soup kitchen. He had to do some useful work where he would actually get some benefit to humankind. So we still have those opportunities, and we have those options that we can actually play with them.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. John.
Right.
Well said.
Thank you, Queen Sister Julie. Thank you, Brother John. Queen Sister Joyce, I'll pass it over to you. If there are no other questions, I'll let you be the one to close for tonight, please. Thank you. Love you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Debbie. Appreciate you. And yes, what an awesome night on tonight, Dr. John. We appreciate you and thank you for sharing with us and bringing to our attention the importance of long-term life insurance and long-term
Okay.
long-term care is something that's much needed. So we appreciate you on tonight. We thank we thank everyone for coming on tonight, for being here, for supporting Julie. We love you all. We thank you for all your contributions and for always just being present. And I don't know if Julie has anything else on tonight. Okay, but we want to thank everyone, and we're going to, Dr. John, if you have closing words for us tonight. Thank you, Pat, for your awesome contributions and questions. Thank you so much. And David, for everyone that spoke, Mamadou, Dr. Benny, Julie, everyone that spoke on tonight. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And Dr. John, we're going to close out. And thank you for, if whether you listen to this live or you listen to it later on, this will be some great information that you can take with you and share with your family and use it for yourself. So again, thank you so much for being here. Dr. John, we'll turn it over to you to close us out tonight. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Queen Joyce, and thank you once more. Again, it's an opportunity, it's a blessing and a privilege to really be with you all here. And as we normally say, if there are no people that participate, there cannot be any webinar. So the reason we're here is because you're always here with us. Therefore, we want to really thank you for taking the time to be with us. We want to thank you for the questions that you asked, because they also push those of us who present to go and find some more information to come and present. So we are all in it to win. We are all in it to win it. And I keep saying here that as long as we stay together, we will always improve and we'll always move forward. And then we will be in a better position when OnPassive finally gets here, because we will not be left wondering what the next steps are. So I want to take this opportunity to thank you all. Wish you all a good night, good morning, good afternoon, or whatever your time is, and hope that we will meet again fairly soon in one of our sister platforms, or if not, we'll meet you here again next week, same time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you, Dr. John. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you all. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Well,
Good night,
Good night,
everyone.
everyone. Thank
Good
you so
night.
much for the great.
Thank you so much, Dr. John. Good night,
Thank
everyone.
Good
you.
night. Good
good
night.
night, Dr. Doris,
Sister Nadu.
And it's winning.
Queen, thank you.
Queen
And we can
Sharon.
stop the
First lady,
recording.
how was
Give
your
you back.
day?
It was
Dr.
cool.
Benny,
Thank you.
Queen
Good.
Julie.
Yes.
Thank you,
Good.
Queen Julie.
Mamadou.
Good night, everyone.
Dr.
Good
Benny.
night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night, Queen
Good night,
Lily.
everyone.
Lynn.
Good
Queen
night.
Bye.
Good night,
Dr.
everyone.
Patricia.
Good night.
Good
Good
night,
night,
Mr.
everyone.
Peltz from India. Good night.
Yes.
Sister Pat, thanks for coming.
Sarah.
You're
Can
very
We do
welcome.
appreciate you.
you
I
stop the
much enjoy
recording?
it. Thank you.
Great session. Thank you so much.